What's your emergency?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the PIO Podcast, a place for all things public information related for police, fire, EMS, and local governments.
It was a good learning experience for a lot of us that social media is not real life.
But we have to remember the media are very rarely a target audience. They're simply that conduit.
Our words have impacts on individuals, and it may not be positive. So just being thoughtful and mindful of the words that we speak.
I think what's so interesting about this position too, and this job and this profession, is that every one of us is looking for purpose. And when we find it here, that's it.
To know is that a crisis for one is not necessarily a crisis for another.
Hey guys, I wanted to jump on here for a minute. I hope you're enjoying our content. If you could take a moment to look in today's show notes at the bottom, you're going to see a link that says support to the show. The PIO Podcast needs support to keep connecting with these amazing resources. Any amount helps. Thanks everybody. We really appreciate it. Wow, it's February already, 1 month down into 2024. For this month, I've lined up some great guests. So sit back and enjoy this episode. Good morning. Today in the PIO Podcast, we have Public Information Officer Scotty Leamon. He's the Coconut Creek Police Department Public Information Officer. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be here. It feels like high school when I finally got invited to the cool table.
Nah, this is definitely not the cool table. What you guys do is the cool table. It really is. So, Scotty, you are the Public Safety Information Officer for Coconut Creek. How long have you been in that position?
It'll be 6 years coming up on February the 20th.
And how did you end up getting there? What's your background?
I spent a good amount of time in TV. So I was a TV reporter for the better part of almost 15 years. So that took me to Kentucky, to South Carolina, and then to Virginia. And then in Virginia, that kind of role, I started raising a family. So, got married. My friends call my wife Helen Keller because they think she must have been blind and deaf to have married me. But I finally got married. So, starting a family and everything. And, the whole thing about, going live at 6 and, you have a 7 o'clock show, you got to be live there and come back and put everything together for the late show and the morning show. It just got to be a lot. So I started kind of looking to get out of TV. So the PIO gig at the Roanoke Police Department came open. So I took that, and that was 2013. So I've been out of TV for now going on close to 11 years. So I took that, and that kind of grew, was the journey that got me to Coconut Creek. We started kind of looking, maybe for warmer weather to move out of the Virginia area. It's a great place to raise a family, no problem with it. We're just looking mainly for warmer weather. And the Coconut Creek job came open. I didn't know anybody down here, so I just typed up some, cover letter and, put my resume and, and I was like, yeah, there's no chance in hell of me getting this job, and then sure enough, Coconut Creek called and we did a interview, over, now it's typical, but now, we did the interview over the, at the time, Skype. Yeah. So, that's what got me here.
Awesome. Let's talk some statistics. Coconut Creek, where's it located? What's the population? How many sworn? How many civilians?
Well, we're in northern Broward, so it's us, and if you go to the north of our jurisdiction, you hit Palm Beach County. So we're in North Broward, so it's above Fort Lauderdale, but below Boca Raton, and have about 57,000 people here. And that's just the folks that live here. There's quite a good, business contingency. We've got schools, we've got some populated schools. So, on a school day, we're probably bringing, well over, I don't know, maybe 75,000, some more people into the city with some bigger businesses, stuff like that. So, on a typical weekday, you're going to have a few more. Got about 100 sworn, give or take, and probably about 40 to 45 civilian. I'm a civilian, so, I can't arrest you, Robert. I can probably tow your car if you really piss me off. But, I'm a civilian, so I have that role. And they had never really had a civilian PIO before, never had ones before.
So you're the first?
The first,
okay.
The first civilian, PIO. And then about 2 years ago, coming up this September, so about a year and a half ago, we also took back over the fire department. So I'm also the PIO for Coconut Creek Fire Rescue. And I don't do as much social media for them as I do for the police department, but also, I'd be the PIO on scene for fire rescue, which was new to me because I never really worked in fire rescue before. So that requires and still requires some learning on my part, and they've been nice enough to help me over there.
Not only you're a one-man operation, I'm assuming, right? So not only are you a one-man operation, but you're doing it for two different agencies.
Yes.
That's a lot of work for a single person to handle, especially when things get busy, hurricane season, all of that. That's got to be pretty daunting to handle on your own.
Yeah, luckily, I joke with the reporters around here. We might get one or two big stories a year, where we're in the Miami market. So, I might get, one or two big stories a year, so it's not that often. And really to a fire scene, I probably only had to respond once or twice so far, so it's one of those places where, I find myself dealing a lot more with neighbors, with the residents than I do with the media. Now, that was the exact opposite in Virginia, in Roanoke. I did a lot more media stuff. We had a lot more violent crime in that city and everything, a lot more socioeconomic, stuff that impacts crime. So I did a lot more with the media there than I do here. But it's a good problem to have, that we don't have. And it also, keeps me really in touch with the HOAs and the neighborhood groups to really know what's going on in the city. So I like that part of it.
Okay. So what social media platforms are you currently running, and do you have any plans to add any new ones?
I told them when I got this job, I wanted to do a few things well and not everything, because I just don't think you can have your hands in everything. That's just me personally. I know people are going to disagree, So basically, I look at the Facebook page as the department's newspaper. You want to see what's going on today, then you turn to the Coconut Creek Department's Facebook page. I try to post a minimum twice a day, maybe once on weekends. Not too much, because the algorithm is going to determine what people see. I primarily use Twitter, to communicate with the media. That's it. Now, there are, of course, people that'll, the residents on Twitter and everything, and I'll answer those questions and everything. So I do use Twitter, a lot of retweets, stuff like that. But primarily, I'm using it to communicate with the media on these crash scenes and on, whatever scene does make the news. Instagram, I like how, Instagram tried to go a lot more video heavy. It didn't seem to work for them. So I do like how they're kind of leaning back into more pictures and stuff like that, because you can be a little more creative on Instagram than you can Facebook. I think it's a little younger crowd. And also it seems like I've got a lot more of these younger officers that are on Instagram instead of Facebook. So that's another thing that I really look at is, I've also got an internal communication there, just somewhat more so with Instagram than Facebook. And also we're on Nextdoor. I like that platform because it kind of cuts out some of the algorithm that you'd find with Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, so I can communicate directly to the consumer, if you will. And we have a new app too. We've joined App Armor and trying to get that off the ground, because then I don't have to worry anything about algorithms, anything like that. So if I can get them to download that and, not be hitting them with stuff every day, they're going to silence it, and not be sending out something at 4:00 in the morning, what's going to wake them up, and tick them off, but I really think that's kind of the future of where we're going, are the apps, because the algorithms are so hard to control, they're so fragmented now, it's politically. So I do think that the future of what we do as far as with social media, with communications, is going to rely heavily on the apps, and using that and pivoting back to the website. I was one of those people before that, why are we using the website? Nobody really goes to it. I see the traffic on it, that they may be going to it, to find out how to hire a detail or an off-duty officer. That's about it. Or how to pay, a fee or something like that. But, as social media becomes more fragmented and the algorithms become harder to kind of pin down, I have been seeing myself really pivoting back toward the website for communication purposes.
That's an interesting trend that I'm starting to see more and more, where the agencies' websites have gotten much better. They've gotten a lot more user-friendly, mobile-friendly. And once they were able to make that leap from mobile-friendly, now you have that ability to just again, drop the link in there. People click on the link, it pulls them back to your website. Maybe you can capture an email address or contact information, and then it makes it a lot easier. You get a better return for your buck. I agree. I think that's more and more agencies I'm seeing are going to that website.
Yeah, and Facebook, that they don't want you to leave their site. So you're going to get penalized a little bit with the I think the bot looks at that, but it's not like I'm not Oscar Mayer. So I'm not trying to sell something to everybody. All I really want to do is sell it to Coconut Creek. So if you're a business, you come in here to work, to go to school, or if you live, so I'm much more compact in what I'm trying to reach. If I was trying to sell you, if I'm trying to sell widget, that's one thing.
Right.
But I'm not. I'm just trying to sell Coconut Creek.
And that's what I liked about Nextdoor, because Nextdoor was just your residents or your businesses that were in your community. That was an advantage of it.
Oh, I forgot to mention the Ring Neighbors app is good too. So when you talk to the residents, and it's just anything else that you run into, because I see it on Nextdoor, you can be anonymous on the Ring Neighbors app. You can be anonymous. So you're just coming up as you can just write whatever you want, and you're neighbor number 26. Nobody knows who you are. Nextdoor, has a little bit of that too, where I go to community meetings, HOA meetings, they complain about, what they're seeing and stuff like that. So Nextdoor has that aspect of it too, of the noise. But at least, if they download Nextdoor, I know they live there, and I know that whatever they choose, whether it be a text message or an email, is getting through. Whereas Facebook, I don't know. I liken it to a pizza. You might get 2 slices, but that's it. Then you're going to have to pay for size 3, 4, and 5. So at least I know with Nextdoor, then, I think I don't know if their numbers, like to me, their numbers are a little weird. Like, I don't know how I'm getting, how they're claiming to have like 25,000 households in Coconut Creek. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. But whatever, at least I know that it's going to get there. And I try to be judicious with Nextdoor and with the app, because when you get something like that, I want you to read it. I want to be, they don't do that. They don't do that every minute. So what's the Coconut Creek Police Department? What's Coconut Creek Fire Rescue trying to tell me here? Since they're just not jabbing on this thing all the time, like a Twitter account where they're retweeting everything and putting out tweets. I intentionally don't post as much on Nextdoor, and really judicious with the app, because I want you to to know that when we do that it's something worth looking at.
Okay. So Scotty, when you came to Coconut Creek and you started out as a PIO, then you became the Public Safety Information Officer because of taking over fire. Did you get any specialized training for any of that? And if you did, what courses did you take?
I got to tell you, Virginia really trained me well. So, and that's probably something I need to do. That's one weak point, I think, in my game right now is, I don't go to a lot of the trainings that I see other PIOs go to, and for networking purposes like that, it's probably something I need to get more into, especially with the emergency communication with hurricanes and with severe weather and stuff like that. When I took over in Virginia, they did send me to like a basic PIO course that pretty much every state will run. I think, Florida probably has one. So I took that. I do think courses and training opportunities as far as with public records requests are very important, because I'm not claiming to be an expert with the public records request, but you got to know your way around. It's kind of like being a TV reporter with that. Like I knew a little bit about everything, but I wasn't an expert on anything. So with public records requests, you got at least got to know, a little bit of a little bit how it works. How much time do I have? What are the rules in whatever state I'm working in? Because those were very important trainings. The kind of command staff structure, of in a crisis situation was important too. I've taken a few FEMA courses, through the years that'll teach you that, and also, it's you just kind of have to develop your own style. My style is a little different, than a lot of people. And some of the stuff that I believe is probably a little different, than what you'll hear from a lot of trainers. So, but I do think it's important to go those trainings and get exposure to how to write a news release, how to be creative in social media, because with a lot of these places, they are just kind of giving it to, that guy, I like his social media posts on Facebook, so he might as well be the PIO. He might as well run the social media. Or, I seen her interview before, she did a good job. she ought to be the PIO and talk to the media whenever they come around, So I think that's how a lot, especially with the sworns, God bless them, I think that's how they end up there. And sometimes I think they're interested in it, other times not. Sometimes they're told, sometimes not. But those courses are really good for and when I say sworn, I'm talking about, fire guys are sworn too. Firefighters are sworn too. So both on the fire end and the police end, I think those are important for people that don't have a background like I do, that weren't in the media forever. Because I'm old. I'm old, Robert. I'm old. So, those are important for people that kind of get in these roles that they didn't really see. I don't know if you're going through the police academy if I'm thinking, man, I want to be a PIO someday. I don't know. I don't think so. So, I think oftentimes they're thrust into these roles because they have a skill set that might fit them, and, it's one of those things that you can embrace that. A lot of these, a lot of these sworn PIOs go on and they have a lot more Twitter followers than I do. And, they're on TV and, that they transition to the morning shows to talk about traffic and stuff like that. You see this all over now. How these ex-state troopers are now going to TV and ex-cops,
Trooper Thompson.
Yep, so it can be a lucrative career, people far more talented than I am, so it can be. But that's the classes I would really take, is trying to develop the writing skill, the interviewing skill, trying to, when you're interviewed, trying to get your message across, answer the question, but also get your message across, and also to kind of know your way around a public records request, or, what do we call it in Virginia, FOIA. Freedom of Information Act, then those are the most important kind of starting building blocks. And then I think everything else you can kind of learn on the job. I think you learn ways to communicate, you learn what works, you learn what doesn't. It's very analytically driven now. So I can tell, if I've got a post that I liked, but, just kind of tanked in the analytics, I can say, well, maybe I want to look at that, And also I'm big on really knowing your audience. My audience primarily is 65% women. Across all platforms, except for YouTube. YouTube's the only one where my guys outnumber my girls. So I'm always thinking about, how is this going to land? I love pro wrestling. I'm a football fan and a hockey fan, so if I make a hockey analogy on this post, how is it going to land with your 37-year-old, mother of two, who's primarily the person looking at my Facebook page?
So, Scotty, hold on. Let me ask you a question. So on your public safety side, on the fire side, you said you weren't doing a whole lot of the social media. So who does that on the fire side then?
Mostly the city does. And, I got to, the fire, can be neglected, and I think that's part of it too, is I do think our fire department, I think I'm getting in trouble for this, but I do think our fire department could probably stand to have its own Facebook page, because I do think they would produce enough content to that. And I do think the fire department would probably, stand with having kind of a social media person. They've got community people, that do fire prevention, stuff like that, but right now they don't have their own Facebook page. And, it's a lot of it is, you got to, and I get it, you got to, who's going to do it? Is it going to be, who's going to provide the content? Who's going to make sure that everything's up to snuff as far as, with the public records requests and everything that we get? I get it. But I also, and I've told the fire department, that I do feel like in a lot of ways they're neglected, because they're not, I'm over here at the police station every day, so I do feel the need sometimes to say, hey, what's going on, or if they get this grant, hey, what, how can we use that, and I don't know if that's another problem that other one-person entities like me run into. It probably is.
I'm sure. You can only go so many directions, right? You can only do so much.
Yeah, and you get so used to doing, like when I think about it, I was like, well, what possible content, what 2 posts every Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday can I get out of the fire department? Probably a lot. It's easy enough for me. I mean, I was scraping the bottom of the barrel for posts, Robert, when I first took like I was going to every community meeting, and, every time we went to this one HOA every month, that would be a post, and now, I might go just to talk and, to say, hey, sign up for Creek Armor, our app, but that's not necessarily a post anymore, because after 5-6 years, you developed a lot of sources, a lot of content, and I know there's a lot of trainings that'll tell these PIOs to run their place like a newsroom, and that's true. That's true. You kind of have to run it like a newsroom. I was in a newsroom for, the better part of 15 years, so I do look at, those, telling a story, getting somebody to read it, to click on it, and I also do look at, with breaking news and weather, as being two of the primary drivers as far as, increasing my reach, increasing the app, because that's what increased it in news. In news, you could own breaking news and you could own weather. You did pretty well. And I do think that for every public safety social media manager, and for every PIO that wants to communicate with the public, that's probably the way they should look at it. Yeah. That's probably a good way to run it.
Scotty, so you have done like a number of presentations to the public on scams and how they impact the community. Is that something that you're usually taking care of, or is that something that comes out of the crime prevention unit or a crime prevention officer?
It's a collaboration, and when I see something, now I do, I don't know, the police guys will tell you, we get, kind of a sheet every day, twice a day, most of the time, that gives you, kind of the high points of that shift. So for the past 12 hours, you can see this, this, and this. So I'll take a look at that, and I'll go in and read the report and, something that might interest me scam-wise. So then I will go to whoever's investigating that and say, hey, I feel like we should put this out. This will help, with crime prevention, nice little post to kind of prevent this from happening. Hey, maybe I'll even give you a few leads. Who knows? If you need some leads, and I'll go and talk to whoever is investigating just to make sure not stepping on any toes, what's coming, stuff like that. So it's a collaborative effort. I will have officers that will come to me and say, hey, we need to do this, seeing an uptick in this, let's do this. Or, hey, we've run into a dead end with this case, we're just not getting any leads. Can we have this? We don't know who we don't know who these goofballs are. They're stealing this motorcycle. Got good video of them. Can you put this out? So it's really a collaborative effort when it comes to that. But I really look at those, and those are some of my top performers. Anytime I put out a scam alert, or I used to call it and still call it. Don't do it as much anymore, but I'll call it. I did these posts called "Who Am I?" So we would show the bad guy, shoplifter, and we would write it first person. So, like the shoplifter wrote it, and it actually fooled some people. I get comments like, "Why is the shoplifter writing this on here?" I was like, "No, it's me." But it's "Who am I?" "Do you know me?" Where it's kind of written from the first person, from the shoplifter's perspective. Those perform really well. And those really get out. So that's what you look for when trying to increase engagement. Because if I can do that, then when the hurricane comes, and when the wildfire comes, then I've already getting you to come to a place where you're going to get the right information, especially for Coconut Creek, because we're not on the news. It's like I joke. When you watch the news, they never mention Coconut Creek. We're not Fort Lauderdale, Sunrise, some of these bigger towns. So I really think there's a nice niche in there. I think I pronounced that right. Did I pronounce that right? Niche. I think East Tennessee education, sorry. But there's really a nice niche there if I can tell the consumer, hey, this is Coconut Creek centric. This is Coconut Creek's weather forecast. This is what's going on in Coconut Creek, because you're not getting that on the news. Although sometimes I might need the news help. Because I get into these, I got it in my first big Twitter argument when I really, really started trying to lean into Twitter. Me, Scotty Leamon, was, I came out one day and I said, hey, we don't need the news. We can tell our own stories. I released one of our videos, and that call, oh my goodness, that really poked a few bears there, but I really truly believe that we don't need the news anymore. If I have a good video and I put it on YouTube, I've got one now that's
absolutely. We are the newsmakers for our agencies. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Scotty,
I've got one.
I
50,000.
Okay. So I want to talk about benefits and the necessity of joining private Facebook groups that are in the neighborhood. Talk about some of that.
Let's take a quick break.
I think it would be useful at least to experiment, and I know some universities have started to experiment with this, but experiment with having, a required course maybe for all students entering the university. They used to have a course at my university, which was like here's how to go to college class, here's how to study and things like that. They don't have that course anymore, but instead of having something like that, have a course that show students, here's the history of free speech, here's how it.
Well, the pros are that it's, again, a way to kind of defeat the algorithm, because I don't like to spend public money, your hard-earned money, Robert, if you're a Coconut Creek resident. I don't want to be giving that to Mark Zuckerberg unless I have to. So I'm all the time looking for ways to kind of see if I can kind of defeat that algorithm. So if you do have a private Facebook group and you post it on there, that it is going to be seen by those people. Now the con is especially with the you have to keep everything for public records requests is, a lot of that stuff won't be captured, so you'll talk to, your page freezers of the world. You'll talk to Archive Social, and they'll tell you, at least most of them will, they may have gotten better at it, but some of that's not going to be captured. So you're kind of out on a limb there, but I still think it's important. And I will still do it to even though, City Hall will kind of, say, hey, watch it, but if there's ever any big rumors out there, or anything, I will post, I will answer stuff and post stuff directly on a neighborhood Facebook group that's private. But they are okay with me sharing. So in other words, when I go and post and, Facebook will let you share all these groups, I shared as many of them as I can because I just really look at it, if you're going to be a part of that group, and I know I'm, on mine for my HOA, I'm a part of a private, and I'm checking that thing every day, figure out what's going on and, what are they doing over here? They cut my palm trees, or are they watering my, cleaning my sidewalk, stuff like that. So, and the bot, will tell you, if I go to that a lot, the bot, then that's going to be the first thing on my screen, so I do think that they are really good ways to defeat the algorithm because, there are a lot of people in these private groups that are active in those neighborhoods, neighborhoods in particular, and I do think it'll throw it to the front of their feed because they have taught the bot, that they like that, so, they want to know what's going on in this private Facebook group. So it throws it directly on top of their feeds.
All right. So let's talk about critical incident briefing videos. That's for major incidents like officer involved shootings or high profile incidents. Have you guys done anything like that, or is that something that you're considering doing in the future?
So far, I've had one officer involved. Well, I had one officer shot here. I've had one officer involved shooting. And with our policy, the FDLE, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, investigates. And a lot more of these agencies, are going, to that method. In Virginia, we investigated for a little while, then we turned it over to Virginia State Police because that's kind of what the folks want. So that's good because I do think it provides more transparency. But the challenge for the PIO is you're no longer in control of the information. So you've got to go to another agency and say, hey, do you mind if I say this? Can I say that? What do you think? Now, FDLE has worked very well with me, as far as, giving me some leeway on, trying to get ahead of some of this stuff with these officer-involved shootings. I could see us doing that, especially, after they wrapped it up, after the state attorney's office has taken a look at it and said, hey, we're not going to prosecute for A, B, and C. I've seen these larger agencies, like I think Houston do it before and some of these big cities. And I wonder if they're still in charge of their own investigations or if they, have turned those over, to another agency, because that's the only thing that would stop us, from doing it in a really timely manner would be, FDLE saying, nah, we still got to investigate, and the state attorney's office saying, nah, we've not made a ruling yet.
So is that policy or is that state law that FDLE takes it over?
Policy.
Okay.
So, but with especially, post Ferguson, there's a lot of people think that's, a lot of this stuff started with George Floyd, but really post Ferguson, everything changed, because, Ferguson shined some lights on that stuff, and especially in Virginia. It's like I tell people, you can only police people though they want to be policed. So in Virginia, in particular, they said, look, we don't want you investigating your own officer-involved shootings. We don't trust you. And there may not be any reason, we may have never provided them a reason to not trust us, but still, the way things are, we don't trust you. So it is good to give that over. You do look more transparent, and you are more transparent, I think, when you're not investigating your own. I agree with that. But to the con of that, or there's always give and take. The take, you give that, but you take the you're going to be kind of tied now to another agency on what you can release. And where if they say nope, we know you got problems with this, we know you got people protesting you, but you can't do that. That's a challenge with this from the PIO's perspective. Again, I suppose
it becomes an image issue too, because if you not releasing any information, And that's what the mistake was in Ferguson. They were almost non-existent.
I think with Floyd, the mistake was getting it wrong, because basically when I get to a scene, I'm like, what's not going to change? So if it's, an example, if it's a crash scene, and, I've got, unfortunately, 2 deceased, that's not going to change. Now if they transported one and they told me, yeah, this guy or this girl's not looking good at all, probably going to die, I'm going to wait. Because it's much easier for me to say someone's deceased than to bring them back to life. Much easier. So I'm all the time asking myself when I get to a scene, what's not going to change? And then that's kind of what I base my, initial releases off on, and with consultation from whoever's investigating, whoever the lead investigator is, is, hey, can we put out what's not going to change? Because then we don't have anything to walk back. We're giving them some information, and then we can just add on to it. So we've established a baseline of factual information that ain't going to change, and then we can build on to that factual information later on, But I do think, and I am a big proponent with the media of not getting to that contentious spot in the first place, because, I do tell my bosses a couple of things. One, I tell them, we can't win every battle. We can't fight every battle. What really, or why are we holding on to this information? If it's not going to hurt the investigation, why are we doing it? And another thing I'll tell them a lot is, look, we're going to get hit. We're going to get hit with this, by the media. They are going to hit us. Do you want to get hit in the nose, or do you want to get hit in the shoulder? Because if you listen to me, we'll get hit in the shoulder. We're going to get hit no matter what. If you listen to me, we'll get hit in the shoulder. If you don't, we're probably going to get hit in the nose. And that's how I've gotten through to them before, it's by saying that, because sometimes, you got to, it's just like DeSantis just did, he had a big crap burger. He had to, I heard it on the radio, so this is not I can't claim to this, but, it was on the radio this morning, when he bows out of the race, he has to eat a big crap burger, so he eats it all in one bite. He doesn't, you don't want to nibble around on it. You eat it all in one bite. Like I said, that's not my analogy. I heard it this morning, so I don't want to.
So, Scotty,
that's perfect analogy. That's a perfect way to think about it.
Scotty, is there a question I should have asked, and if so, how would you have answered it?
No, I'm all good. You took me back to high school when I was a weird, sophomore with braces who couldn't get any girls, no dates, and all of a sudden I get invited to the cool table, and the cool table changed my life. So this will be a life-changing experience now. Even though I'm married, so that parts of it. Now maybe I'll get invited to more cool parties and stuff like that. So I can't wait for all the coolness that's gonna happen after this.
It's gonna happen.
And,
all right, Scotty, let's do into some rapid fire questions. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Talking or texting?
I like to talk because then there's no record of it. So I don't like to live or leave. For public records requests, I don't like to leave a whole lot of. What's it called with Hansel and Gretel? Little breadcrumbs to follow. So I'm a talker.
All right.
So I like to talk.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Coffee or tea?
I'm more of a tea guy. So I've never been a big coffee drinker, so more of a tea guy. I drink a lot of green tea now. I'm getting older, so this is too much information. It sends me to the bathroom a lot, but I'm a green tea guy. It's healthier. Getting older, maybe going to the bathroom 9 times a day is a good thing.
Adult drink of choice?
I'm a cold Coors Light guy. I'll sit and drink cold Coors Lights all day if I had to.
Superpower if you could have one. What superpower?
What's that? What
superpower if you could have one?
I don't know. The whole superpower thing kind of freaks me out because I know me and I would abuse it. So like if I had, if I could fly, then, I could just see me, going and, doing something that's, would be, I'm not, I got to, there's a reason why I can't fly, why, God made me kind of ugly and short, because he knows I would abuse it, so I'm scared of superpowers. I'd probably have to go with, probably flight, I guess, because I don't like to fly anyway, so at least I'll be in control of it.
There you
so
go.
I have to go and fly. I know me, and I know I would abuse it and get in a lot of trouble, so I'm glad I don't have any superpowers.
All right. Ask permission or beg for forgiveness?
I am more of a forgiveness kind of guy, so I do, I still do it. I will do stuff that I'm like, I don't know about this. I mentioned one earlier, posted on the apron, the private.
Right. It's a PIO way, though. It's a PIO way. Place you'd most like to travel to?
I like to go to the beach, so luckily we have a lot of those here. So the beach is kind of my thing, getting in the sand. I don't get in the water until, it's July and August. It's too cold, but we go every Sunday. So I do like to travel to the beach.
Nice. Guilty pleasure food?
Probably pizza. I could probably eat that 4 meals a day, 5 meals a day. It's as I get older, it kind of sticks. So, if I walk by a donut now, it just sticks on my stomach, but definitely pizza, if it wasn't so darn calorific and everything, I could eat that 3 meals a day. Yeah.
If you choose to have coffee with any historical figure, who would it be?
I thought about that one because I saw that one. Man, I don't know. One of the things, I would like to actually go back to whoever my great-great-great-great-great-grandpa is and say, hey, where are we from? Because I can trace my family to this little podunk town in Tennessee, Riceville. I shouldn't say that. People watch the 35 people population that might tick them off. But, I would love to be able to say, hey, I have this family member here and here, but I would probably want to go back to just some really old grandpa, Leamon, and saying, hey, what do you know about your grandpa? And where do what do you remember? Because I'd love to be able to trace the Leamons beyond rural Tennessee.
There you go. All right, Scotty, final thoughts. What key points would you like our listeners to take from the interview today?
I don't know. It's a tough job. It's a rewarding job as far as being a PIO. Sometimes I think we're really too into ourselves. Sometimes I think we like to gripe and complain, when really there's not much to gripe and complain about. So just don't take it too seriously. But I do think there's a role there for us, and I do think that times are changing, and I think we've got to really realize, especially as old as I am. I'll be 50 years old soon. I'm not really plugged into the 24, 25-year-olds. That's why I talk to them and see what they're doing, But there are, times are changing, and it's like I like to tell people, there's a wave coming. So, we have two choices. We either get swamped by it, or we grab our surfboard and we ride it. So that's really our choice. So with everything that's coming down, with these apps and, and the way social media is going and all this stuff, I think times are changing and we need to change with it.
Scotty, how can people best reach out to you if they want to connect or follow up?
I'll give you my phone number.
Don't do that one. Email or something, yeah. Because you'll get some person that'll start pranking you. You don't want to have that happen.
No, you're kidding. Somebody would actually use my phone number?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No. But I normally give it out. I pretty much give it out every community meeting. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to answer it. If it's important, you leave me a voicemail. I'll tell people that. But yeah, I think the Twitter account's the best way. It kind of looks like Peon Paradise. I don't know why I set it up like that because I'm dumb. That's something, when you do your Twitter handle, don't be dumb. But I meant it to be PION, as in Nebraska, not Nebraska, but, PION,
right?
The letter N, Paradise. But it looks like Peon. My wife is like, it looks like Peon Paradise. I'm like, yeah, okay. But I didn't change it. So, don't be dumb. But that's one way to find me. And then the email address, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Because I get crazies on email too. But, if you're crazy, that's fine. I'm a little crazy. It's okay. We're in the same boat. It's the first letter of my first name, S, and then my entire last name, Leamon. So it kind of looks like Sleeman. So it's Sleamon, all one word. And it's at Coconut Creek, all one word. If you need help spelling Coconut Creek, you need a lot more help than I can give you. So coconutcreek.net. So Sleamon at coconutcreek.net.
Scotty, thank you very much for being on the show, man.
Don't be sending me nothing that is going to get called, involved in a public records request. That's one thing, okay? Government email. Yeah, so, I'm not getting caught up in anybody's FOIA or PR request.
There you go. Scotty, thank you very much for being on the show.
Hey, no problem. I really enjoyed it. It's actually a goal I set out. I'd like to try to be more of a presenter and more of a trainer, and as the years go by, one of my goals is try to teach. So, this is actually one of my goals was to try to get on this thing. So you do a great job. It's a great outlet for everybody. I've learned a lot from listening to these podcasts.
Awesome.
It's really made me think and change my ways in some ways. So I hope to do the same.
Thank you. Thank you for being on. Take care.
Hey, thank you.
That's all for this week. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to get notified on the latest episode. If you are listening on a platform that allows you to leave a review, please give us a review. Any review is appreciated. to support our efforts with the PIO podcast, you can click on the support button in the show notes, and any donation is appreciated. Thank you.